You cannot escape from death.
Before we talk about how strong the character Kunimitsu is, I think it's important to note that this character is by no means controversial, bad, or hurting the game. If anything, she's doing the opposite. You know, Yujiro's announcement, his reveal, was one of the biggest reveals that Tekken has received. His trailer on Twitter got about 10 million views in like 3 days. And then her release soon after, an update that followed, continued that hype. And that hype resulted in 12,000 people playing the game on launch of the character, and that is very good for a game that previously had 6,000 people online. Also combined with that, the recent reviews was mostly positive for this character and for this update as a whole. And then lastly, throughout the whole week of Kunimitsu, the first week, there was 305,000 weekly players. To put that in perspective, the only time we had more players than that is all the way at the launch of the game when Eddie was releasing. And Eddie was releasing when the game still had like 20,000, 30,000 players. So there was a lot of people who were popping in and out to experience the update, the character, and also buying the game because of Yujiro's hype. And no matter how powerful this character is, she is not game breaking enough to cause chaos and dismay like Anna did. And I think that's an important thing to highlight, because when we're talking about how strong a character is, and this is something that I've always talked about, is that there's different types of strong and there's different types of like broken. You often hear about the tournament type of broken, where they say characters like Devil Jin is bottom 5, and they're talking about in a tournament environment against some of the players who have the most knowledge, the best skill, and the best reaction time. In an environment like that, you have a specific type of tool set that outshines other characters. Kunimitsu right now seems to be a perfect tournament character, because the things that make her strong is the thing that tournament characters would love. And it would make sense why tournament players are reacting the way that they are, because for them, this character is going to be madness. This character is going to be chaos. They're going to have to deal with a poking god, a aggressive god, but also a character who can steamroll you in a second without even doing a combo. That's the potential that Kunimitsu can output. But for the average players who are playing this game, they're having a lot of fun experimenting with the things that she can do. Her toolkit isn't that massive. She doesn't have like 150, 160, 170, 80 moves list. I think her move list is around 120, which in Tekken terms is kind of small. But the way that they chained it all together and the way that they laid it out, you could kind of tailor the Kunimitsu to be the way you want. You can focus on combos even though her damage is low. You could do that. You could go with a hyper aggressive activating heat trying to rush your opponent down. You could play a very defensive Kunimitsu and just use her advanced punishment to destroy characters like Reina or the Mishimas. Or you can be a poke god, which is honestly the best way to play her. The reason why is because she has a couple of moves that are insane. Back 1+2, I heard that there was YouTubers who made videos about that one move alone and how it is one of the most dangerous tools on the planet. The move is definitely powerful and it has its strengths. It's a mid, safe, it does one hit, but it's big damage, and you could kind of just check people with that mid check, mid check, mid check, and if they're not blocking or if they're not doing what they're supposed to, you'll hit them with a bunch of damage. And just being able to do that kind of like risk free is pretty crazy. Now, I don't know if I would agree with people who say that that move should be punishable, because I feel like once you make moves punishable or overly punishable, it kind of defeats the purpose of it existing. But I don't know if that's a move I would argue that against. I'll have to get more knowledge and experience around that one move in particular. Other moves that she has is, of course, her forward 3+4, her down forward 3+4, and then of course like her jab strings that goes into stances. You also have forward 4 and then dash after. That move with the counter hit and dashing into someone is like very, very dicey. And then of course something that I've been doing a lot is dashing at people and doing 1+2. It's a mid safe heat engager, that wall splat, and you can kind of just dash at people and just check them and just make sure they're not doing anything crazy. They can get a nice step if they are really like that, but with your switching up the timing and switching up your moves, they will be afraid to do so. The things about this character that makes her really, really crazy is her low. She has three of them that I'll note. The first one is more so just like kind of a normal poke, but you do have to acknowledge it. It's down back 4. It's just a low mid kick. It's nothing too crazy, right? But her 2 crazy lows, because all of these things add up. It's down 1+2, where she kind of does like a little spin on the ground and then she slices your foot. That move is really good because it's evasive. It's kind of fast, like it kind of just happens, right? You gotta like read it as if it was like a hatchet kick or like a Jin down 2. It's just something you have to sense, know that it's coming, and then block, which is really difficult because of how many different pokes and different moves she has. Like for example, trying to get a read on down 1+2 when your opponent is doing down back 2-4 is a pretty difficult thing to do. And then also, like we talked about, that mid move that would light you up, right? So she just has some of these tools that would make you hesitate. And as we know, in a game like Tekken 8, all you need is to hesitate for a second, and now you're cooked. Another move, though, and by far the most deadliest in her toolkit, in my opinion, is her full crouch down 1+2. This move can activate off 1 frame of crouch, and you see people do it as if they're standing. I wonder if they'll adjust that window, because I think that would alleviate the problem of this character that people are having, because allowing her to do that from instant crouch is kind of crazy, and it allows for her to do some gnarly mix-ups. I wonder if that's a bug, or I wonder if that's intentional, because to my understanding, no other character has that, which makes her kind of unique and special in that way, but it's really, really strong. A lot of her moves set up for her to go into back turn, and once in back turn, she has the mid move where she spins. It's 1+2. She spins and she kind of is like, it's not the safest way to protect yourself, but basically it's like a don't move type of button. And then she also has like jab strings out of it. She also has mid counter hits, power crushes. She has low moves. She has a lot of stuff from the back turn stance, and all of it is kind of really solid. And when you have solid lows go into a solid stance that goes into a scenario where she could then do those solid lows again, you've probably seen the short that I made where I believe it was Rankchu who zeroed someone health bar in like 10 seconds. And it was all with pokes, and it was all just the Kazuya player trying to sidestep, trying to play defense, trying to look for the right opportunity, and it never came. It's just poke, 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 and you're eliminated. And one thing that I think is interesting to note about this character as well is, since she's fighting you kind of toe-to-toe standing up, she doesn't really leave gray health. Gray health is something that is basically a comeback mechanic, right? Someone does a big combo on you, or someone's hitting you on the floor, like Yoshimitsu forward 1+2 spam. The game has this thing where it leaves a little bit of gray health. It gives you that opportunity to where once you get to your feet, if you heat a gauge off of them, or even if you just do a combo and that combo has a lot of hits, you could gain some kind of life. And KUNIMITSU is one of the few characters who kind of nullifies this, because the most damage she does is standing on feet, right? Standing toe to toe with you. And in that environment, she doesn't create any gray health for you to come back from. Usually when characters are pressing a lot of buttons in your face, you're waiting for that, obvious move, that obvious high, or that obvious stance. And with KUNIMITSU, it's all so fundamentally solid, and it loops into itself, and you could be waiting forever, and the only thing will come is death. But also, to kind of balance this, you have her combo damage, which is pretty low in comparison to other characters. I know when I said that before, people laughed, but some of the characters in this game, Jun Kazama, Lee, all they need is one combo and the ground is basically over. And when Arslan said that she lacks like a comeback potential because of that, it's kind of true. If you're down life, let's say you have 20 life and they have like, let's say 100 because they launched you at the start of the round, it's going to be difficult to make a comeback in that situation, because you're going to be a little bit more desperate, a little bit more eager to take a risk, because you want to even up the life lead, and KUNIMITSU doesn't do well in that environment. You're going to have to be really, really solid to, make a comeback in that scenario. It's definitely possible. This is the game of comebacks, but KUNIMITSU isn't a character where you want to go down on life and then risk it all on launch. Yoshimitsu, he could start trying to go for some poison breaths. He could start going for some forward 1+2 spam. He could start doing a lot of down for 2. He could start doing a lot of things to try and get that big combo comeback and even up the life count. But KUNIMITSU, she is very powerful in that her offense is crazy, but if the opponent gets you first, I personally find it difficult to make a comeback there. But overall, the conversation around this character being super broken and pro players saying that she potentially could go on to dominate EVO like Leroy did at EVO Japan all those years ago, I don't know if that will happen. There's been some tournaments going on and we see her pop up here and there. One main difference that I see with her is that her low down 1+2 and full crouch down 1+2 are interesting because those kind of loop into more scenarios where she could keep the pressure going. Where in Tekken 7, she had the full crouch hell sweep. And Arslan was on Twitter saying that they should, instead of nerfing full crouch 1+2, they should just get rid of it and bring back the hell sweep. And that's a pretty interesting thing because that one change alone and some of the other changes they made with the character, you can see that the developers don't want you to play like they did in Tekken 7. In Tekken 7, KUNIMITSU was all about knocking your opponent to the ground and then hitting them with a guaranteed follow-up. KUNIMITSU, she has a little bit of that as well, where she hits you to the ground and does a guaranteed follow-up, but that's kind of like Tekken 8 as a whole. They really want you to just keep the pressure going with unlimited offense, and the whole knocking them down thing doesn't really seem to be like her main strategy. And that's probably why they removed that move and some of her other tools. Like, for example, since she is so aggressive, fast, and poking you a lot, if she had her old school forward 1+2 unblockable high, that move would have been nasty in this game. I mean, if you heat activate on someone and then you do unblockable high, which is pretty difficult to stop, it would be pretty difficult to stop. It would be kind of cheap. So that's something that I noticed with this character, is that they took away her strong unblockable, but then the unblockables that she do have, up back 1+2 and then 1+2 those unblockables is kind of trash, and it's more gimmicky than anything. Going for it will put you in a dangerous situation, and if you're a tournament player, you're basically throwing around. Her dagger as well is a interesting tool because in Tekken 7 it was just spammed and it was kind of safe. Now it's -13. So the developers want you to use it a little bit more differently, but also commit to it, because now if you whiff the dagger, KUNIMITSU chases after it and it's basically a free launch. In Tekken 7 she didn't do that, which is what made it super annoying as well. So the character does have like severe I won't say weaknesses, but she has like things that can be exploited, whether you're on defense or whether she is reckless in her offense. That's something that I personally can appreciate, because what I found to be annoying about this game is not necessarily powerful characters. Powerful characters like Brian or Claudio were some of the funnest matchups to fight against. The characters that I think are like truly despicable are just characters who are doing infinite stance mix-ups, like over here, or just whatever the case may be. So with KUNIMITSU, even though she's always in your face and she's always trying to poke you down, it's the style of Tekken that I love. And trying to sidestep her, trying to block her, trying to do all of these different things, it's more rewarding and engaging, in my personal opinion, than dealing with a character where they go into a stance and I have to guess between 7 different options. So KUNIMITSU is a cool character. Obviously, she's a strong character, but it gives me faith that Tekken can be made in a way that kind of honors what Tekken is all about: legacy, movement, spacing, pokes, knowledge of the overall game and how these tools operate, getting your opponent to do something that you want them to do so you can take advantage of it. Some people are considering her to be number 1, top 5. Everyone's probably going to agree and say she's S tier.